Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, this is Karen Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. We all have a superpower in common, which is often hidden or unknown to us. Today we're going to be talking about what that superpower is, how to make it stronger, and how it benefits not only ourselves, but has an unexpectedly important impact on our lineage, our children, our communities, humanity, and even the oneness. After the discussion, we're going to wrap it up with a group frequency calibration to help to begin to clear the distortion patterns around this topic. So let's get started. Dennis?
I'd like to start with just a very, very basic question, Karen, because this is very enticing, this subject matter. So, and I think of my grandkids, superpower.
Right.
So you talk about your hidden superpower and one that we all have in common. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So more than it's hidden, it's more unrecognized than hidden. It's hidden because it's unrecognized. Does that make sense? So it's an unrecognized superpower.
I'm not aware of it.
You're not aware of it,
Okay.
yes. So it's hidden to you.
Okay.
So what I'm referring to is that our frequency vibration or our beingness, the level at which we vibrate very much starts to impact not only the people around us and ourselves, but as we rise in frequency vibrations starts to impact the lineage, the community, humanity, the oneness. The higher your frequency vibration, the greater your impact. So a lot of people think that they're just doing this work for themselves. And a lot of people are, because they want a better job, they want a better relationship, they want more money, they want something. And that's how we often start. And as we continue to remove the distortion patterns, as a natural consequence, your frequency vibration rises. If you keep going, the more that it rises, the greater the ripple effect into the oneness. And now I tell you that because it seems like you may be feeling a bit selfish for doing the work, or what's the point of doing all this? The point of this is that what you do absolutely impacts the all that is. The higher your vibration, the greater the positive impact. So that is your hidden superpower.
So we've talked about the essence of what you just described
Yeah.
in a number of our different segments.
Yeah.
But we've never kind of referred to it as a hidden superpower. And so because of the magnitude that it can bring about as far as change for us as an individual and for those around us, that's where you've labeled it as a superpower.
Yeah, because it is, and most people don't even realize they have
Yeah.
it. Because they think, okay, well, I'm just working on myself, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, it does in the sense of it makes a difference to me, but it doesn't have that much impact. It does. It's funny, when I give group frequency calibrations, and we're working on the mastermind, what often happens is the speed of the mastermind starts to really pick up as we clear more and more distortion patterns. Now, the participants on the call don't necessarily realize it because they're not perceiving on the same level that I am. What happens is the velocity increases to such a degree that when we release, especially distortion patterns that are mirrored in the collective very heavily, the ripple effect into the collective consciousness is huge, because now the collective consciousness can entrain up to this possibility of that frequency distortion pattern not existing any longer. So therefore, the ripple effect is huge on the collective consciousness because there's a model, right? It's just like, I always talk about the 4-minute mile, Jim Rohn.
Yeah. Jim Ryan.
Sorry, dang it. I'll remember his name at some point.
Kansas.
Right. I'll remember that at some point. But in any case, just like he modeled something that hadn't happened before, it's similar, but on a much, much greater scale when we're doing these group frequency calibrations. And the ripple effect into the collective consciousness is huge. Now, I know not all the participants, or very few of them, have a sense of that. But it does impact the collective consciousness, and what we experience collectively shifts as we do more and more of this work, which is really fantastic. And yes, it seems like the world is getting more and more polarized. It is. But that's it's funny. From spirit perspective, that is required. That instability, the chaos, all the stuff that is starting to break down is required in order for a new something to emerge, a higher level of consciousness. So I know that it seems really scary right now, and it's getting worse, and I'm aware of it. And there's a reason that it's happening this way, right? If everything were always stable and constant and everyone was content all the time, not much change would happen. Usually, before a tremendous amount of change, there is a period of instability before that change, and that's what's happening right now.
You know, I don't know if you could kind of feel the audience, but that's very comforting to hear that, because it is very challenging for each and every one of us, because we're all part of this.
Yes.
And there is tremendous chaos.
Yes.
So for you to say, we're right on schedule.
Yeah.
You know, and for this to come to the table, to be released so that we can move to another level.
It's huge.
Exciting.
Exactly. And people ask all the time, what can I do? I feel so powerless. I'm like, do this. Release the distortion patterns from yourself, because you are part of the oneness of the collective consciousness. When you release it for yourself, absolutely there's an impact on the collective consciousness, and consciousness rises. That's how we're going to get out of the mess that is happening right now. All this tremendous polarization, violence, anger, hatred, all this very low level resonating stuff that's happening and getting increasingly loud in the world. The way to move beyond that is for consciousness to rise and to drop these lower layers of density, of these low, this oppression of different people, the control that's happening. I mean, on a very large scale, from different groups, governments, organizations, whatever, right, that is happening. All that's starting to break down right now. And that's required for something new to come in, a new consciousness without all that control, oppression, that type of thing.
And I know you always get excited, Karen, when you start to talk about people coming together in the mastermind. So that individual that you mentioned earlier about, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
I mean, join in.
Yeah.
Be part of the GFC, be part of the mastermind, be part of that amplifying the frequencies.
Yes, exactly, and releasing it. And so that's what I just wanted to mention, because a lot of people feel disempowered right now. This is what you can do to empower not only yourself, also to liberate yourself. And as you're doing that, then it changes for everybody. So there's a huge potential here, huge. And people don't even realize they have this. We always think that we're so small that we can't do that much, and actually the impact we can have is tremendous. So yeah, it's really exciting.
I think it's so ironic that, you talk about a hidden superpower.
Yeah.
But it's so, its ability to transform is amazing.
Totally.
But it's so subtle.
Yeah, or you're not even aware that you can really do it.
And it evolved over time. So you didn't wake up Monday morning at 7:30 and, ta-da, superpower. So it's that releasing over time, the distortions, the duct tape.
Yeah, the duct tape, and all that starts now, right? The more you do, the more impact you have. And so I just want to make another distinction. A lot of people feel like in order to help the world, they have to do something. They have to campaign for something. Save the world. I've got to save it. Yeah. So I got to go clean up the oceans, save the whales, save the Amazon. Really, what we're doing to the planet is kind of terrible. So, yes, of course, there's this desire.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yes, exactly, to do that. And you don't need to. So if you're called to, wonderful, go do that, okay? And it's not required for you to do something physical like that. Because when you're releasing the distortion patterns on the spirit level, what's happening is at the frequency level. If you remember, frequency governs form or physical matter or the reality. As consciousness rises, the opportunity for a new reality to come in rises as well, one that is of a newer resonating, a higher resonating order. That is something that's really exciting because you don't have to, it's not in the doingness. That's why it's about your beingness. Your frequency vibration has nothing to do with your doingness. And I also want to distinguish this from your emotional state. So a lot of people think, well, I just need to govern my emotional state. right? So what I do, the state that I'm in, impacts myself and it impacts other people around me, which is absolutely true. However, okay, so I just want to clarify something. A lot of people think of our frequency vibration as being like this one single line that we're at constantly all the time. It's not like that. It's more of like a bandwidth. Okay, so just imagine like a tube. So you're in this like little, so for the podcast listeners, I'm holding my hands about 6 inches apart, okay? So within this tube that's about 6 inches apart, you have this bandwidth of frequency that your frequency vibration is at, generally speaking. This is like the baseline of you. Your emotional state during that particular moment or day or whatever can cause you to be higher in the bandwidth of your frequency vibration if you're having a great day, or lower because you're having a crappy day. Does that make sense? But you're generally speaking within the same bandwidth of your frequency vibration. So what I'm talking about is raising your entire frequency vibration up by a significant margin. Yep. And what happens is, because your higher self doesn't really want all those layers of duct tape around you, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, reference Frequency Work Fundamentals Part 1, where you have all these layers of duct tape, which are these distortion patterns around you. It doesn't want that heaviness. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle. It wants to release the density. It doesn't feel very good, right? So once you start to remove the distortion patterns, many of us want to just keep going because you don't want that heaviness anymore. You want to be free of it. So it's self-perpetuating. So it's really lovely. So it all happens as a natural consequence of doing the work. You don't have to do anything other than have personal accountability to, whenever you do have frequency work, releasing those distortion patterns on the physical, mental, emotional plane by confirming deletion of those patterns. Okay? That's the work that you need to do. But other than that, you don't have to do anything, get out there and knock on people's doors and do whatever.
But I've got an assumption, see if it holds water, is that as you do the work and as you rise up as far as awaken, don't you have a sense that your calling, your purpose will start to kind of come to you and you'll become more aware of? And so...
Yeah, and I think you'll become aware of what our common purpose is, which is to experience the human body and experience the density, to accept it, embrace it, and then ultimately to transcend the illusion of the humanness, that we only are this physical reality. So that's part of what your common purpose is that we all have together. Now, if you express or feel like there is something greater or a different function that you want to have, you can express that, but it's not required. Because as you're ascending, you're already fulfilling your purpose, which is what I just explained, which was to experience the human body, to enjoy the embodiment, then to transcend the illusion of the humanness, right? Yeah. That's it. I mean, meaning to transcend the humanness, that you are just the physical, that there is a spirit aspect to yourself that is greater, more powerful, and that you are always connected to pure source. It's the awareness of your connection to pure source. People always think, well, I'm disconnected. I'm like, you're not disconnected. You're just not aware of your connection. That's all that's happened. Okay, so I just want to make that clear because people get confused around that. So all that said, you already, if you start to do this, you're already fulfilling your purpose. Yeah. And now, should something come up, like you have a different, more specific function that you want to play in the world, fantastic, and it's not required.
Yep. Yeah. So let me throw out one more word: permission.
Yeah.
Is allowing people to give themselves permission to acknowledge these superpowers.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, that's not me. Yeah. No, I can't impact the universe. I can't impact my family. I can't impact my kids. They won't listen to me. But give yourself permission over time as these changes start to take place. Yeah. Like, oh, maybe, just maybe I've got something going here.
Yeah. And it starts to really accelerate. Yeah. You get to a tipping point. See, the thing is, some people, when they start frequency work, there's a lot of detox. Okay, we've talked about detox. Watch episode 3, detox and how to leverage it. So there is detox with this work, okay, because you're releasing all this stuff from you. So there is a period of integration detox. It's going to happen. It's like doing a cleanse, right? When you release all the toxicity of your body, it doesn't feel particularly good. For many people, not all of you, some of you don't have that rule set. Some of you just don't detox at all, which is fantastic. But if you do detox, the thing is to keep going. right? Because some of us, oh my gosh, it's so hard. And it is hard at the beginning. I'm not going to lie to you. It can be, right? Because you're releasing all this stuff. And if you keep going, don't get stuck at that beginning part. Keep going. I mean, if not, you get stuck there. That was my motivating factor. I was like, well, I'm not going to stay here. This kind of sucks. I'm going to keep going. So eventually what happens is, and for some of you it will be slower, again, and some of you it will be faster, because it really depends on how much fear you have, your rule sets, and how much you hang on. All those things determine how quickly you release, right? And also how much personal accountability you have. Once you do that, if you keep going, it gets to a tipping point, and then things really start to accelerate. It's really amazing. Yeah.
A funny thought I had was if you're one of those people that are fortunate enough to move through this process without the detoxing, you may not want to mention that in a group. Because your lifespan may be shortened. Because for those that are going through it, they really don't want to hear that. So, but but what it speaks to is the fact that each one of our journeys unique and different.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to compare mine to yours. And what I go through, and that's the uniqueness.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Karen, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group. And each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration on your hidden superpower. The theme for this particular GFC is going to be on increasing your frequency vibration. Because the higher your frequency resonance, the more impact you will have not only on yourself, but your closest people, in terms of your family, people you mastermind with, eventually then the people around you at work, your community, and rippling out into the oneness. The higher your resonance, the more impact you have. Okay. So let's begin by becoming aware of our body. This is very important. If you are not present in your body, it's very difficult for you to be in the present moment in linear time, which means then that it's very difficult for your frequency resonance to rise. So, becoming aware of your body. Becoming aware of your relative position of your feet. How are they positioned today? Are they a little bit different? Or are they always in this same position relative to your body? And now noticing the soles of your feet and what the soles of your feet are touching. So noticing the texture of whatever the soles of your feet are touching. And even if it is the air has a texture if you pay close enough attention. Has a texture in terms of humidity, temperature, feel. So for example, if it's just rained, the air feels different than if it has not in terms of the ionic charge in the air. Okay? So just becoming aware of what the soles of your feet are touching. Good. And now become aware of your surroundings. And as you become aware of your surroundings, becoming aware of all the noises other than the sound of my voice, both on your end and on mine. So on your end, be aware of those small sounds around you that you don't normally notice. Your computer makes a sound. It whirs very softly. The fridge hums. Sometimes lights have a hum to them as well. The sounds from outside or the room next door. Be aware of the soundscape, both on your end and on my end. The birds are active today, so I'm sure you'll hear them. Good. And now becoming aware, please, of the smell around you. There's lots of smells in the air that we don't pay attention to. Noticing all the smells. It's springtime for most of us. So there are different smells in the air than there were even a couple of weeks ago. Noticing all the smells. And now please triangulate. If you don't know what triangulation is, please blink your eyes open. If you can do triangulation with your eyes closed, and you've done this before, then please go ahead and do that. For those of you who are new, triangulation is when you identify 3 inanimate objects in the space around you. It doesn't matter what they are, just 3 inanimate objects. And then noticing the difference between object A and you. Okay, so noticing that distance between object A and you. So for example, it might be like, oh, that's about 4.5 feet away from me. And then feel the distance between object A and you. So get a feeling sense for that distance. And do the same with object B. So object B to you, C to you. It's always the object to you, not the inverse, please. The object to you. The reason we are doing this is for you to become more aware of where you are in space. Because as you do this, you'll become somehow more aware of that. It becomes clearer, more present for you. Okay? Your relative position in space. This is very important because in order to be at our highest resonance, we need to be in the 0 point of our spatial rendering. And if you don't know what that is, I suggest you listen to or watch the New Consciousness special talk plus GFC. And also the 0 point in time, which is the present moment in linear time, which is the gateway to the eternal now. Okay? You can't get to the eternal now without a certain frequency resonance, which I help you with. But essentially, the more you refine where you are in space and time in terms of the 0 point, the greater your mastery, the greater your acceleration on spirit level, the higher your frequency resonance, the greater your impact on your physical reality. That is why we are triangulating. When you have completed triangulation, and for those of you who already have, bringing your attention to your solar plexus between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Once you bring your attention here, taking a nice deep breath, And at the very top of your breath, please hold your inhale for a count of 5. And when you have completed that 5 count, releasing the air out of your lungs and holding your exhaled breath out for a count of 5. For those of you with a very fast count, keeping your attention on that solar plexus as we wait for the mastermind to coalesce, and just breathe normally when you arrive here. So as we wait for the mastermind to coalesce and become coherent, for those of you that are new, please note that I'm working on you at the group and the subgroup level, and that I'll be making noises on my end. So you'll hear me yawn or exhale sharply, or sometimes even hum. That is simply how I remove the distortion patterns at this time. And more I am working in silence. So if you hear nothing on my end, please note that I am still working on you. Just accessing really high frequencies, and it doesn't benefit you if I make physical noise. It just lowers the resonance. Okay? All right. Good. And for those of you who are new, if I say something that resonates with you, it's likely yours. And if I say something that really you resist, okay, like that couldn't possibly be you, it's likely yours. So I encourage you to remain open and to examine it further. Good. All of us bringing our attention now, please, to our heart space, not your physical heart, your heart space in the center of your chest, in your nipple line. And as you bring your attention here, now that the mastermind has coalesced, we're going to go ahead and ask ourselves that question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? Yeah. And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of the space at the very center of your body. And as you become aware of this space, become aware of a brilliance at its very center. Now, for those of you who have been following this work for some time, go ahead and expand outwards as this intensifies. For those of you who are new, keeping your attention here in the very center of this space, as a brilliance intensifies here, because you have your attention on it. And as this brilliance intensifies even more, it expands outwards through all of your cells, through your organs, out through your bone structure, through your flesh and your muscles, out through the pores of your skin, into the space between your physical body and your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length, all around you. Really noticing or imagining the brilliance within the sphere. And for some of you, that brilliance is going to intensify so much that the sphere will begin to oscillate or to shake from side to side. For some of you, that sphere will start to spin. And for some of you, that sphere will remain still. None of these is better than the other. Just notice what happens to the sphere. Good. Yeah. And now please become aware of the space all around the sphere. And as you imagine this infinite space, I'm working with you at spirit level to increase your frequency resonance, irrespective of the level that you're at. So that this session can be the most effective possible. And so you know where you're going in the future, because you can't yet come here on your own. Yet. Good. Bringing your attention now, please, to the lower back half of your skull. This includes the spine as it comes into the skull, please. And as you become aware of this space, the first distortion pattern we're going to remove is that of a lack of self-worth, and also a belief that you can impact anyone else by you yourself becoming stronger. Okay? And for some of you, it's not even that latter half of that statement. It's just that you can have that much of an impact without direct quote-unquote interference or dialogue with or activity with another. So let's release this, because it's not true. And it also isn't helping you in terms of claiming your own brilliance, which is very, very important in the awakening process. Until you fully understand and realize the brilliance that you are, spiritual awakening is capped at a very specific point. Yep. Bring your attention, please, to your solar plexus now, between your belly button and the base of your sternum. All right. So many of you on this call have a very strong helper frequency. Okay, we've done an episode on this. Now, only some of you have cleared this frequency. So this is about the desire to help another, okay, which is a very beautiful human experience. And for a very large subgroup of you, you take on other people's stuff because you feel like you're stronger. Okay, some of you feel like you're stronger. Others of you are obligated to because of the rule sets within your lineage. You have to in order to be providing something of value, to be worthy of love or attention, or for some of you, even existing. So we're going to release this. Yeah. And bringing your attention now, please, to the space between your belly button and your heart space in a straight line. Yeah. So this is the distortion pattern of low self-worth or non-deserving of your own brilliance. Okay? Like it's okay for you to be brilliant on spirit level for some of you. For others of you, it's not okay for you to be brilliant on spirit level, like to the degree that you are. And for another set of subgroup, you can have spiritual brilliance, but not physical. Okay, it can't translate down into your physical experience. It remains sort of in the ethers, so to speak. So, working with the different subgroups. Yeah. Yeah, until you recognize your own brilliance. As I mentioned, your growth on spirit level will be capped, and it's harder for you to experience abundance in the physical reality in all aspects. Okay, because you don't perceive your own brilliance, which naturally is abundant in all directions. So that's what we were working on. Good. Yeah. Bringing your attention, please, now to your xiphoid process and about 3 inches immediately beneath it towards your belly button. So this is 2 things. One, it's the belief that you need to do something in order to help others. That's not true. The higher you resonate in your beingness, you actually have vastly more impact. Because others naturally want to entrain to the higher resonance. With humans, we do this even on the cellular level. So by being a higher resonance, you allow them to entrain to a different possibility. And also at the same time, clearing out your pain body. Your pain body has a memory. So unless we spend a few seconds doing this, when you detox, integrate, you kind of slam up against these memories of you before the frequency work was done. Good. This brings us to the end of this session. I look forward to working with you on the next GFC. These GFCs help people release distortion patterns. It's my sincere hope that you benefit profoundly from this series, which is why I spend so much of my personal resources creating these as my gift to the world. If a GFC topic resonates with you, often more work that can be provided in this one GFC is needed to really clear or loosen deeply held distortion patterns in areas that are sticky. Because these patterns are like layers of an onion, usually there are multiple layers to individual topics. Depending on how much of a challenge this topic is for you, it may make sense for you to go deeper than what this session allows. If you feel this is the case for you, please visit sphericalluminosity.com for more targeted support.